welcome to the Transportation Committee. Oh, man. I missed it.
Do it again?
No. MCB4 has adopted a hybrid meeting policy whereby we will meet in person with a remote option. All community board meetings will require an in-person forum to come to order and conduct business. Committee members are expected to attend meetings in person unless they have a disability or an extraordinary circumstance as defined by the New York State Open Meetings Law. Excused members attending remotely can fully participate in the meeting and must leave their cameras on. Due to public health best practices and space limitations, we encourage members of the public to join virtually. Members of the public that are attending remotely can fully participate in the meeting. The MCB4 hybrid policy can be found on our website, and tonight's meeting is, as always, being recorded and is currently live streaming on YouTube. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to the first Transportation Committee meeting of 2024. Happy to see you all here. Happy to kick things off. Let's briefly, as we do, just go around, introduce ourselves for anyone who might be attending from the public. My name is Jesse Greenwald. I am the co-chair of the Transportation Committee, and I live in Chelsea.
Kristen Birthday, co-chair, and I live in Hell's Kitchen.
Rodney Washington, member, and Chelsea.
Pete Diaz, member and living in the Hell's Kitchen.
Sanford Miller, member, Hell's Kitchen.
Alan Oster, Chelsea. David Warren, Hudson Yards.
Let's all stop.
Nelson, member, Hell's Kitchen.
Charlie Todd, member, Clinton.
So, as you all see, we have a relatively short agenda this evening, which is very exciting, but we do have a few small new business items that we'll also be discussing this evening. With all that, let's jump right in. I think we have a presentation on Citi Bike, a docking station at Chelsea Piers. And if whoever is on to present on that, if you could raise your hand, and Janine will move you over to speak.
Could you introduce Colleen?
Oh, and Colleen is on as well. Colleen Chattergoon from the Department of Transportation, who is the outreach director, I believe, or is our liaison to the Department of Transportation, and we're happy that you can attend.
And Vera.
Good night, everyone. Thanks so much.
And Vera.
No, we forgot Brett and Vera. Sorry, Brett and Vera. You want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure, Brett Burfer, a public member, currently passing through Newark. I will be there as soon as Amtrak will let me, but Transportation Committee, we should all be in transportation, right?
Yes, yes, a well-timed call on public transit calling in. Excellent. And Viren, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Great.
Hi. I'm here.
Hi, Viren. Hi, all right. And all right, so we have Viren, also one of our other members. Thanks, Viren. All right, so Janine, yes, if you could move over whoever we have from Citi Bike, or to do the presentation. Sorry, not from Citi Bike, but
John is on.
Yes, great.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Just want to make one quick clarification. My name is not John Katzman. I am doing this presentation on behalf of John Katzman. My name is Alex Bernstein. He unfortunately is running a little bit late with some airline difficulties. His plane should be landing soon, and as soon as it does, he will join this call. But in the meantime, I will get started to make sure to be sensitive of all of your precious time. So, I'm here to talk with you all about Citi Bike and Chelsea Piers. So, I am not sure if you all use Citi Bike or not, but something that John and I have noticed is that there is a gap in Citi Bike coverage along the West Side Highway, namely between 24th Street and around 14th Street. There are no docking stations. In fact, the closest docking station on the West Side Highway is up on, I believe, Pier 89. And then on the south side, the closest Citi Bike stop is, I want to say, Pier 30. And so there is a considerable gap in an area that is has a high amount of traffic. So the thing is, in this area, there are so many spaces that people come from far and wide across the city to visit. This starts off with a beautiful Hudson River Park. There's bowling. There's the brand new Little Island. There's Pier 57 food hall that just opened. There is the wonderful Chelsea Piers Fitness Center. And all of those activities are fairly active. And so there is a massive amount of overlap between Citi Bike customers and people that are using the amenities that are on the West Side Highway here. But the thing is that it's very difficult to find places to dock your bike when you're trying to explore these attractions. You have to go into the grid, walk typically 5 to 10 minutes to find a Citi Bike docking station, hope that there's an open dock, and then walk back over to the West Side Highway. In addition, there are several new residential buildings that are either slated to open or just recently opened in this area, and that is going to increase foot traffic overall in this neighborhood. And so we're proposing 2 to 3 Citi Bike stations on Chelsea Pier's property if necessary. So what I mean by this is there are some key places that are public space that I believe could suit a Citi Bike docking station very effectively. But if that is not something that the public space would be open to, we have spoken with Chelsea Piers, and they are willing to add docking stations on their facilities instead. And so where it is that we are proposing to have these docking stations is one on 17th Street, as you can see on this left-hand photo. There is this wonderful open walkway that has plenty of space that we think would be very conducive to having a Citi Bike docking station there. There is 20th Street right at Chelsea Piers, which would be convenient for all of the people using the Chelsea Piers amenities. And then there is north on 22nd Street right by the bus station and a couple of other key areas that directly feeds you into the public park there. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is e-bikes. The e-bikes are certainly an issue that we care about here, and the law as it currently stands is that they are not allowing any motored vehicles or e-bikes or e-scooters on the West Side paths. And we are not trying to contradict that whatsoever. We believe that if we are going to have that rule in place, it should probably be enforced. And also, the Citi Bike bicycles are capped at a certain speed and do not allow you to go, I believe, above 14 miles an hour. And so we do not believe that this will significantly change the overall West Side Highway biking ecosystem. So that is overall everything that I wanted to discuss. I am open to any questions or opening this up to conversation, but I don't know. I heard a lot of people here are from Chelsea and am curious if you would find this as invaluable as I know that I would. Thank you all very much for your time. And I look forward to hopefully having a Citi Bike station in this key area of the city.
Great. Thank you so much. I know your name is not John. I'm sorry. I missed what your name was.
My name's Alex.
Alex. Okay, great. Thank you. And so I just from my own understanding, so you, Alex, and John are just residents and Citi Bike users. Do you have any connection to the park or Citi Bike, or do you have any of official connection to the topic, or are you just a resident and want to see a Citi Bike station in this area?
Yeah, we're just thoughtful and caring residents. Our office is on Chelsea Piers, and we have just noticed that there is this lack in supply that we are sure affects many other people and wanted to speak out for our community.
Great. All right, well, I'll open it up to the committee.
I'd like to make the information point first. We wrote a letter in 2022 to Chelsea Piers when they were renewing their lease. And part of their requirement is to install 2 stations. So it is wonderful that they are willing to do something that they must do. And,
Finally.
so it's, you know, it's, I think we need to remind them that they were supposed to do that, and they should do that, and I think your action is very well taken for that.
Just can I ask a clarifying question about that?
Yeah,
Are city bikes, is the installation paid for by the city or paid for by
they paid
a
for by
private
city,
entity like?
by city by. They are not funded by the city and they are not funded by any private developer. Therefore, city
Okay.
bikes carry the whole cost of installing city bike and operating city bike.
Okay.
It's lit now, right?
Yeah, on my list now, yeah. But one more clarifying question, sorry, so, what we could do though is ask them, well, maybe, is it possible that they've been holding off on putting in the city bikes until they do the renovations, and we could ask them to put them in now, even though they're still rebuilding the pier? Is that something we could do?
Yeah, it's on the land.
Yeah.
Rebuilding the pier
Yeah.
is out there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think,
You know, my question being like, would they believe that they wouldn't be required to install it until they're done with their redevelopment?
we don't have the timeline.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we should also push the park to push them.
Yes.
And one thing I have previously, and this was many years ago, spoken with City Bike, and they said for any places where they would where we would like to have a City Bike docking station in a private property or anything like that, the private property can pay for this City Bike docking station to be developed. And so then it is kind of guarantees more likely that they do put that or they do install it. And so one option that I'll just throw out there, although my voice only carries so much weight, is that you could ask Chelsea Piers to pay for it as in addition to requesting for City Bike to pay for it.
Oh, the letter was asking them to do it,
Yeah.
no matter what. Right?
So meaning that request is that we've already asked that of them to pay for it and to do it, and with them, the lease for them to, since they're redeveloping here, includes a requirement that they do that. But if we were gonna do something here, it would be to ask them to
Move it up.
and speed it up is the thing here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sort of having a battle in my head, and I don't know if I'm wrong. I have no problem if it's on private property and it's a private business and they're negotiating. My personal problem would be is if we're using public land to sort of like send people to one business that owns this whole block, many blocks.
No, it's not, it's all on their property.
Right, but I think there was mention of public property.
No?
Okay, so it's all private.
It's either
property.
private property or if it's Pier 57, there may be a little piece of Hudson River Park.
Right, so it would go to a public area versus basically, I just feel a little bit uncomfortable putting it on public property on their side of the block versus the other side of the block, which sort of makes me feel like I'm not purposely sending business.
So you're
Okay.
saying that you're a little bit uncomfortable if we're saying, if we're only putting city bikes in front of Chelsea Pier, as we were telling.
But it's
people.
like a bus stop. If you put a
Yeah.
bus stop in front of Chelsea Piers, all the people who come to work at Chelsea Piers benefit from that, employees.
And I get that, but
Not
not
the
the putting it
owners.
across the street versus basically pushing people in a certain direction.
Well, I think it's also next to the frying pan and it's next to the public park at 26th Street and it's next to the carousel and it's near the little island. I think the real issue here is that it is across this, like there are options across the street, as Alex mentioned, but there's no city bike station between 40th Street and Houston Street on the river side of the West Side Highway. And so I bike to our community board meetings, which are at Pier 57, which is near one of these locations. So I come from Hell's Kitchen, I have to cross the West Side Highway, nightmare. I have to bike all the way down, then I have to cross back over the West Side Highway if I want to park, and then I have to walk back. So I think, this is a no-brainer. I'm glad that we've already sent a letter for Chelsea Piers, but I think we can broaden this just a little bit and say, Hudson River Park, this is the busiest bike lane in North America, to my understanding. why are there no stations between 40th and Houston? That's 2 miles where there's no stations, and I think this is, particularly with the little island, with the new, the sandy beach that just got installed, the new, just a tow pound here, there's all these amenities, and there's no stations.
So there is a project being started at Hudson River Park to improve on the section from 30 to 40. Okay, and then part of that project, hopefully we will push, for installation.
Was there a rationale of what, because there is just a dearth of city bike right over by the river. It seems like by design, what, do you know the reason
I can't
why?
remember, but
There must have been some policy.
They don't
There must have
technically
been some
allow
policy
electric,
reason.
technically, they don't allow electric bikes on the.
that's not the
Yeah,
electric
that's
bike,
not-
we're
Well,
talking.
the
about-
city bike has electric bikes.
No,
It
but
didn't when it first, but there just was no stations ever installed near the river, and there must have been a policy reason for that, and I just don't know what it
I don't
was.
recall.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever it is.
Maybe to your point, I think you have to realize the park was built well before the whole biking, city bike, came into existence, so, there's no need really, except for, small spots, along the highway. But, Alex, you bring up a good point, and, this is somewhat of an old story for us. About 2 years ago, DOT came to transportation and said, listen, guys, we need more city bike stations. There's an influx of, folks using this. Please give us some recommendations. We wrote a letter, and I'm glad Colleen is here tonight, because maybe she can give us an update. January 20.
Why don't we do that just after we finish this item?
Okay.
Yeah, that's very,
So
yeah.
anyway, we did, there used to be, just so you know, there used to be a bike station across from the main entrance on 22nd and 11th. So although you did have to cross over, there was a bike station there. It was removed because of construction in the big building that you noticed between 22nd and 23rd. Forget what it's called. And since then, it hasn't been replaced, and it's being used for parking now. So we've written letters on that, and hopefully we can get some resolution. At least there could be a station there, which used to be used by folks, city bike station, the city bikes.
Do you want to ask?
Yes, so just before we go further, we're just limited to questions for.
We're not,
For
but I
Alex.
want to talk about the letter that we're gonna write.
Yeah, no, sure, I'm realizing we Viren, do you have a question?
No, I think I'm not quite sure what we're negotiating. I think a couple of things that I wanted to ask is if Chelsea Piers is willing to provide space, I think we should just go for it, as Christine said, according to a letter. And the second thing about city bike racks on the park side is problematic mainly because of the traffic going back and forth. So even when you are not allowed to actually bring your bike onto the sort of pedestrian walkways of the park itself, people do that more often than not. If you put bike corrals there, then you actually make, providing them a license to bring bikes in there. So I think what Citi has been doing is kind of more commendable in the sense that you keep it on the east side of the highway and not within the park in terms of providing parking for city bikes. I think that should probably remain in place. But going back to what, get his name, not John, Alex, what he's here for, I think we should just get Chelsea Piers to provide space for this.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Should we like,
The public,
Oh, sorry, anyone in the public have questions for our presenter or generally?
Can I ask a quick question as a follow-up? Sorry, I'm jumping back in, but have you reached out to Citi, Chelsea Piers in writing or any formal request that they have already accepted?
I need to confirm that with John Katzman, but what he said to me was yes, and they were willing. I believe that if they received a follow-up letter from this committee, it might encourage them to kind of ramp up the process to ensure that this happens. I mean, ideally before the summer, so that it can really get put to use. One thing that I wanted to also raise, just as kind of a supplementary point to the activity on the West Side Highway or the Riverside Park in terms of bikes. I have a lot of friends that are afraid of using bikes in the grid. They believe it's dangerous, and everyone does it at their own caution. I understand. I believe that if we provide more access on the West Side Highway for those who want to use city bikes, it's going to have greater usage because then people don't have it'll be easier for them to avoid going onto the grid and using the bikes there, which they might not feel comfortable with as a safety procedure. So yeah.
Alex, just to cut you, just if it makes you feel better, I ride my bicycle 5 days a week, 18 miles every single day along the Hudson River Park. So I have no problem with bikes being sort of the bike paths being there. But when you bring parking into the park zones, the pedestrian zones, that's what I'm saying no to.
And if you look at the photos, I'm happy to resurface where my presentation with the images. One thing that I would say is that they are in very open area, like it's not the park per se. It's like almost intersections where the West Side Highway meets the park. I am just looking for my presentation again. Apologies.
All right, so thank you, Alex. All right, so do other people have comments or ideas for a letter that we might want to write in response to the proposals here tonight? Yes, Charlie.
Just a comment I'd make too. I understand what Darren's saying is that we don't want to put, at the river end of a long pier, a city bike rack where people are going to be biking, deep into the park. But I think what Alex is suggesting is in the photos that he has, and also the pre-existing city bike docks at 40th Street, and there's one at Howson, there's one at Chambers. They're very close to the bike. So we're talking about exiting the bike lane and parking your dock immediately and not, biking on the sidewalk and biking on here. So I just, and Alex has brought up, I think of these three locations too, just to mention them, I think, perhaps 20th Street, Christine, more than me, that's where the redesign might be happening, but it feels like 17th and 22nd is a no-brainer, but anywhere Chelsea Piers is willing to give us is a no-brainer.
I agree. David, yeah.
So about the letter, so I don't know who's trying to lease with the Chelsea Piers, but we should make sure that they're CC'd. Hudson River Park should be CC'd, and possibly, since Hudson River Park is a state, maybe the State Department of Transportation should also be included in the letter on this. Because the more people that are CC'd on this, the better off, and this way they see it.
Sure, but I mean, unless we're specifically just asking Chelsea Piers to,
Right.
do this for us and speed up their timeline and put in the 2 bike racks while they're, but we can see what else. Alan, I'm curious what we were about to read from the previous letter. Is that still so relevant?
There's a whole. Let me pass this on.
Just do a summary.
Okay, well, there's about 6, 10, 12, maybe 15 suggestions that we made back in January 22 as to where we should put bike stations on the east side across from various entrances. So
You mean on the east side of the 11th Avenue?
Yeah.
On the east side, not the, so not west side, just the east
Not
side?
on the west side.
Okay, interesting.
So do we have an update from, what's her name, Colleen, on the 22nd Street?
Colleen, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. So there was a city bike station there, and it was, I'm told, and internally, there are construction projects on 20th and 11th and West 18th and 11th Avenue. And we're hoping to wrap up soon and which will allow us to add some more capacity in the area. So the station was relocated due to construction.
But what about 22nd?
What about 22nd Street though?
22nd?
You had a station there for several years before the construction on the courtroom.
I think that was relocated for construction as well.
It wasn't.
But the construction is finished.
No, it wasn't relocated.
So
Is
the
the construction finished?
Construction's been finished for well over a year, almost 2 years ago.
Right, so the construction is finished at 22nd, it was relocated because of that construction. Now the construction is finished, so there is no reason apparently to not return the station at 22nd. Could you follow up with that?
Oh, you know what? Here it is. This is what it is. Now I see what it is. So the reason why we're not going to put back the station at 22nd Street is because it's now designated as school parking. So there is school parking during the day. That's why. So we're looking at locations to relocate the station, to put it somewhere else.
What does she mean by school parking? So school parking for what?
There's,
It's not for teachers. It's to clear up the curb space for buses for pickup and drop off.
okay, wait a second. You're talking about a private for-profit business where employees park their cars there, starting probably 7 o'clock in the morning.
No. This is not designated for teachers parking. This is not. It's for.
But they're using it for parking.
No, well, you know what? If they're using it for parking, they're not supposed to. We'll reach out to them to let them know, but it's not to be used for parking.
Okay.
For private vehicles.
For some reason, the school puts these placards, school letters that they have permission to park there. So your enforcement people are not ticketing them.
We're not enforcement. We don't ticket. We're not enforcement. We don't ticket. Let me confirm, but I know it is school parking. I don't believe it's for teachers. I believe it's for to free up the curb for pickup and drop off.
All right,
Wait a second. When you have a street, all right, a one-way street, and a school bus comes down the street, you're not clearing the side for pickup and drop off. The bus stops in the middle of the street, puts a stop sign on so that people can't pass. These are high school students. This is not a public school. This is not an intermediate school. These are high school students, most of whom, from my experience, walk there or maybe get dropped off by a car. So there seems to be some misunderstanding, it seems, as to what the purpose of the school parking or no parking because of school place is for this particular situation. Because it's starting about 7 o'clock in the morning. You have cars parked there that are from the school.
You know what? Let me clarify if it's for teachers parking or if it's to clear the curb, because I know the station is not going back because of the parking that we just instituted there. So I will clarify that and I'll get back to the board tomorrow.
Okay.
But the bottom line is the station is not going back there.
But potentially we could do a walkthrough with the school, we can do a walkthrough to really clarify for everybody what's what. So let's find out first what you know, and then let's have a joint meeting where everybody is on the same wavelength. Okay, all right, so. Should I summarize?
Sure. No, I think you feel like, yeah.
So we're going to send a letter to Chelsea Piers, copy the park, and we are going to ask that they accelerate the installation, that we have received requests at the 3 locations which have been suggested, and say this is really urgent and we appreciate what they're going to do. And then that's it, pretty much. I mean, we need, yes.
I understand tailoring the letter to Chelsea Piers because there's this opportunity, but can the letter also just point out that there are 0 stations between Houston and 40th?
Yeah, but they're not supposed, they don't care about that. They have.
You're saying it should be a joint letter to both Chelsea Piers and Hudson River Park.
Well, you said you were gonna CC Hudson River Park.
Yes.
I mean, it's relevant to Chelsea Piers. There's a 2-mile stretch of no parking.
Got it, plus the absence of.
Yeah, I agree. But just to clarify then for everyone, that would be obviously on the west side of the highway. So if for anyone who agrees with Pier that there shouldn't be biking, that this letter would not.
Wait, but I have a question then.
Yeah.
Because it's on the west side on Chelsea Piers property.
Yes.
Private property.
Yes.
Otherwise, because she's, okay.
Yes, we're all good.
Okay.
Let me clarify. When I say east side of the highway, what I mean is they can be on the west side as long as it's in the driveway or any other place which is non-pedestrian. That's what I meant.
I see. Okay.
They cannot put the bike corral in the park, and they cannot put it where the sidewalk is very narrow, where the pedestrians are walking, etc.
Yes.
Okay.
east side of the highway. Good.
Got it. Okay,
Okay.
I thank you for clarifying. This is-
So we have a motion, someone?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
All in
All in
favor?
favor?
Okay. We're good.
Great.
You thought it was going to be a short meeting.
Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We really appreciate it, and it certainly helps move things along. So hopefully, you're right. Let's hope by the summer, we can get some city bike racks, and Chelsea Piers and in that area. So bike work. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Everyone.
Bye-bye. All right, moving on to item number 2 on our agenda, which is the request for a bike corral and street seats at West 43rd Street. This is between 8th and 9th Avenue. Janine, do we have a presenter here on this evening?
That would be me. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Let me see here. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
What's this guy's name?
Sorry, just before you begin, if you want to introduce yourself. Appreciate it.
Manuel Mancilla. I go by Man. I am the founder and director of Fantastica, which is a street furniture company, as well as the co-founder of Uni, which is a secure bike parking startup.
Yeah.
I am joined today by my colleague Ligia Walpa from Los Deliveristas Unidos and Workers' Justice Project.
Good evening, everybody. Nice meeting you all. As Maman said, my name is Ligia Walpa. I'm the executive director of the Workers' Justice Project, which organizes Los Deliveristas Unidos, a collective of app delivery workers that has been organizing and working with the community since 2020. And yeah, nice meeting you all.
Great. Thanks
Do you
for
want me
being
to-
here.
Yeah. You let me know if you want us to start, Man, or yeah.
I'm ready if you guys are. Can everybody hear us and see the screen okay?
Yes. Yep, go ahead, whenever you're ready.
All right, so we're excited to talk to you all and meet you. As I have said, I represent Workers' Justice Project, which is the organization that organizes Los Deliveristas Unidos. Workers' Justice Project has been in the community and organizing since 2011. We have more than 12,000 members who live in different corners of our city. And since then, since 2020, we have been organizing Los Deliveristas Unidos to fight for decent wages, better working conditions, and also working to address many of the public safety concerns in trying to innovate in terms of how we build new type of infrastructures in the community while also expanding worker protections. Then we also, Los Deliveristas Unidos our goal is to be able to change the working conditions of 65,000 deliveristas across the city. We're particularly very interested in working with you, specifically on the zip code 119, since this is Manhattan, but one of these specific neighborhoods happens to be with the second highest number of delivery workers in New York City. And our interest is to start building new initiatives that addresses the public safety concern. We're also trying to build new type of infrastructures. We, as itself, have started partnerships with Senator Schumer, who allocated $1 million in federal funding to create the hubs for charging stations, sheltering in training. Two of our locations, one is in City Hall, and the other one is in the Upper West Side, which is under consideration. The program design is already approved by the Parks Department. We're working towards working with the different agencies to get to the making progress to hopefully have the first charging stations in the city very soon. So part of I think I am that part of the next thing that we want to share with you and part of the presentation is talk to you more about a specific initiative. We would love to partner with you all in terms of how we can create a new infrastructure, particularly bike parking in an area where there is a high number of deliveristas. And we're excited to share a little bit about the vision, being able to also answer any questions, concerns, and hopefully this could be an opportunity to do something amazing and really be the model for the rest of the city in terms of how we address public safety. And I'll pass it on to Manman to share a little bit about Fantastica, which is a company that we're working with, but more than a company, they're really redesigning and rethinking with community groups as like how we use and share and transform public spaces, that it's about actually delivering and addressing issues of public safety in our community. So I'll pass it on to Manman to share a little bit of Fantastica.
Thank you, Ligia, and thank you, everybody. Excited to be here. So first, a little bit about Fantastica. So we started off with the first DOT temporary plaza design in the Pearl Street Triangle in Dumbo back at the beginning of my career. Then further along, we also worked with the Department of Transportation to design the citywide standard for the street seats program when it first kicked off around 2015, if I recall correctly. During the height of the pandemic, we also developed an outdoor dining modular system that was launched as part of Times Square's design lab, together with the Business Improvement District, and piloted throughout the city with 3 or 4 business improvement districts at the time. Both the citywide standard for street seats and the modular system for outdoor dining can be seen in the city today in various locations, has been in operation for years now, and has had an incredible track history of making people happy from a user experience standpoint and from an operator standpoint, given that it's very low maintenance and has a very high standard of durability. This initiative, as Ligia was saying, is in a way linked to the grant that Senator Schumer gave the Delivery Workers Union, los Deliveristas Unidos and Justice Workers Justice Project, in terms of the idea first originated from the concept of creating rest stops for delivery workers as a street seats or parklet that could, as far as the vision goes, live outside of a business or outside of a building by taking over an on-street parking spot. That idea came back with the grant that was given to them, but also with an idea on top of the idea, which was to repurpose all newsstand, which is the 2 locations that Ligia mentioned. However, the vision, the concept, and the need for these modular rest stops still stands. And we think that the 2 of them are complementary in the sense that while you can have a network of street seats or parklets throughout the city that could help ease some of the troubles that we see on the streets today, there's also a need for a bigger amenity in terms of the newsstands, which includes other aspects such as battery charging, bike, a space for bike tune-ups and bike repair, as well as a small office for advocacy and staffing, to address some of the Los Deliveristas Unidos program that they do from a community-based standpoint. The proposed location that we are discussing today is on West 43rd Street and 9th Avenue in front of the McCaffrey Playground. So you can see here the 9th Avenue bike lane, which currently has high concentrations of delivery workers, and West 42nd Street here. As far as the existing conditions, I mean, this is a situation that is not exclusive to this part of the city. However, it is higher concentration than other spots. On any given day, you find upwards of 30 delivery workers there, waiting, resting, taking a break. And because of the lack of infrastructure, they both use the sidewalk for parking and congregating, as well as whatever they can sit on to take a rest. The proposed location, as I mentioned before, is in front of the playground. It's based on the clearance that would need to be kept from the hydrant. It almost ends up being dead centered with the entrance to the playground. The proposed idea is to basically split the installation into two modules. One module to the west, that would be a street seat, so mostly for resting mostly for resting and sitting and being there as a space or a street seats. This would be a public amenity, open, not exclusive to delivery workers, and then a bike corral to the east. There is a manhole that lands basically at dead center with the entrance to the park that needs to be cleared, which is why we're proposing to split the installation this way with the bike corral and the street seats. And I will further show this along in the presentation. So you can see a street view here. You can see the hydrant. You can see roughly 20 feet or so of street seats, which is one parking spot. Then 10 feet or so to clear the manhole, and then 30 feet, let's call it, of bike parking or bike corral, which would add 12 public bike racks, basically. Here is a floor plan showing the street seats opening to the sidewalk. This will have a platform which would be flush with the curb, so that's ADA. It would be surrounded, or on the periphery, it would be surrounded by water-filled barriers, which is proprietary to our design and the system. However, the bike corral, it is inverted so that the bike corral can be accessed from the street. And the street seats, as I mentioned, would be connected to the sidewalk. Our design is basically high quality components. We've, along the many years since I've been designing parklets, I think we've really arrived at a transformational and design forward system here in terms of the components that we use. It has a high level of it is finished with an anti-graffiti finish in the planter boxes. All of the aluminum structures are anodized and have tamper-proof screws on them. It comes in a whole constellation of colors and finishes. And as you can see here on the far right, it also has the possibility to add built-in LED lights on the water barriers themselves, which has some positive effects as far as the after hours of these types of installations in a public space. It is very easy to remove and install. Our installations would normally go in, I'm going to say, half a day, depending on the leveling aspect of the street and the curve. Same for the removal of it, in case there is, a resurfacing of the street, which has happened before, or any sort of utility upgrade that needs to happen, or a relocation. It is as easy to install as it is to relocate it or remove it. Also, for any other reason. In this particular case, the the hub maintenance operation and insurance will be provided by Los Deliveristas Unidos and Workers' Justice Project. You can see here, a further detail as far as, some of the components here, starting with the water barriers. The water barriers themselves are fit with a planter box that sits on top of the water barrier. And then you have because it is a modular system, then you have the option to customize it to, either the site conditions or your needs, with high tables or benches. The benches have sleep deterrents on them to prevent, any sort of issues around homelessness. The aluminum brackets are also attached to the water barrier, meaning that there's no need for revocable consent as far as bolting down onto the sidewalk or the street. There is also power outlets, mostly for phone charging. There are infrared heaters attached to the canopy, as well as RGB lights for lighting up above on the canopy and or inside of the water barriers for that nice ambient lighting that lights up all the interior and the periphery of the installation, which also adds great visibility, for cars, especially at night. I'm going to finish here with this image. This is a rendering of what it would look like as if it was on 9th Avenue, which is where we first started considering the installation. You can see the street seats on the left-hand side with the ramps and the ADA platform. And you can see the bike corral on the right, all flanked with water with our own custom water barriers with planter boxes. So I'm gonna now open it up to any sort of questions or comments. Happy to answer any of them.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the presentation. So I'm just gonna, for this, I just want to reinstitute our formal policies. We're all on board. So first, it is going to be questions from the committee, just questions, clarifying questions, things you might want to know. Then we're going to open it up to the public for questions or comments, and then we will come back to our committee to discuss amongst ourselves. So first with questions, go ahead, Brett.
Have you reached out to the Black Association, the residents in the block, for coming to us with this?
We have a letter from the block.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they're aware, they've seen the little, okay.
They're aware, and they are, the little letter is in opposition. But
I'm not sure if I missed it, but how would this be maintained?
Maintenance is provided by Los Deliveristas Unidos and Workers' Justice Project.
Yeah,
Someone
our
can
goal
get
is
24
to,
hours?
yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, we would be offering the maintenance work, particularly around cleaning, making sure we have a staff that can oversight and making sure that it's maintained, as well as we aim to work with the different city agencies to make sure that we coordinate to ensure that hours that we're not necessarily operating is being maintained at this by or supported by the different agencies. But the goal is that we would do the oversight over this location.
thank you. Yeah.
I'm just curious if any study was done to determine where to put this,
Yes.
sort of spot? And it was done?
And
what
just
was-
as a corollary to that question, right, can you just also just discuss the other locations that you might have considered? Thanks.
Say it again.
Sorry, so the two parts of the question, Tina's part, were did you do a study to identify this location? And then my sort of corollary to that question is, can you talk about any other locations that you may have considered and decided that this was the best of all the locations?
Yeah. So there's a combination of necessity and what we have observed in the neighborhood. So this specific block is where there is a high density of delivery workers, and the majority, the proposed location is near where it's considered the hotspot area, particularly for this neighborhood. You already, I think in this presentation, you would see the existing working conditions. So it's not like we're bringing deliveristas to the neighborhood. There's deliveristas already specifically on that block on 9th Avenue and 43rd Streets. There is a large concentration of delivery workers between 20, 30 peak time hours, which is morning, evenings, there might be more workers. These workers are already parking outside of the restaurants, is very disorganized. In terms of some of them don't have really parking areas, so there happen to be parking on the sidewalks, part in the streets near the, so that what we're proposing is bringing an idea on how to address the existing conditions and make it safer, more organized for the community. Since we're already seeing that the deliveristas are experiencing lack of parking, don't have where to like sit down while they're on their breaks or waiting for their orders. So there is a public safety concern that I think we have seen by workers in the community, and what we're intending to do is address the issues that we are already observing, and bring some organization to the chaos that already exists in that block, and for workers that are already concentrated there.
Okay, so but just to follow up, so you did not consider any other locations?
The location that it's proposed right now, it's near where
they naturally occurring and the park, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
near the park, which is near block. It's near park. Because it's important to know that it's not like we can move deliveristas to another location, because the reason they're there is because that's the consider a hotspot area for them.
Actually, no, that is an important question though. Why are they? Is there something naturally occurring about that particular corner? Is there some sort of infrastructure that already exists on that corner? Or did this just happen naturally because over time, more and more people started gathering on that particular block? Because I do feel like if it was just a naturally occurring thing, you could create a naturally occurring thing somewhere else if you wanted to. But sorry, that was a comment. Apologies. Question of just, is there something unique about the block? Yeah.
And they're there to meet the demand of the restaurants.
Right, but there were 3 delivery restaurants right there.
Oh, the 3, like there happen to be 3 very prominent fast turnaround delivery restaurants right there.
Yeah, so my question is related to this. I see that you initially wanted the spot on 9th Avenue right in front of these 3 high-end demand restaurants. I don't know if you're aware of the current conditions, but within the past week, someone, presumably a police precinct, presumably Midtown North, blocked off the parking here with barricades, and I'm not sure why. I think it's perhaps to discourage deliveristas from being there. However, it's created a worse problem because now the deliveristas, instead of being in the parking lane, are on the sidewalk and are in the bike lane. And I biked here tonight and I couldn't even get through because deliveristas are blocking their own bike lane. So that seems to be where they want to be because of those restaurants. So my question is, if we create the street seat and the bike parking around the corner by McCaffrey Playground, are they still going to want to congregate directly in front of the restaurant? Because is it something with the apps where you need to be close to the restaurant to get the call? Could we possibly build these street seats not on 9th Avenue, and then they congregate on 9th Avenue anyway because they want to be right by the restaurant? And therefore, should we be building it right in front of the restaurants?
That's been our goal. But there's been hesitation from the restaurants because they do need the workers to pick up the food, but they don't want to create it. They don't want this infrastructure right in front of the restaurants.
There have been some calls to Eric Botcher's office about, first, the restaurants are very opposed because I did my.
But they're the restaurants.
Whoa. I did my due diligence, and I went to ask. And, just got kicked out, essentially, saying, no way, we don't want that. And then, the main reason they don't want it there is because the deliveries are, using the restaurant, as their restrooms, as their charging stations, as cold, all those things. Once they are in front of the restaurants, that's the place where they go.
But they're de facto employees of the restaurant.
Yeah, but I don't, I know that.
Yeah.
I'm
just trying to understand.
You don't teach me anything.
No, I know.
You're just.
I'm trying to understand why the restaurant doesn't
Wait.
want their employees in front
You
of the
asked a
restaurant.
question and I am
But
answering.
the call
other-
to Eric Bosher, yeah, can you talk about
And
that?
the second thing is that there are people in the buildings there which have a call because
Residents.
the people are in front of their door and they can't go out. And so there is too much in front, so that we have residents and businesses which are saying, not a great place.
Yeah.
So that's the answer to why not on Ninth Avenue.
So do the restaurants and the businesses support this around the corner?
What?
With the restaurants and the residents there?
There's
But
no resident.
Oh, okay.
David,
Okay, first of all, I think this is a great project. I'm really in support of it. But to follow up on a question, you mentioned, so you'll self-regulate the trash and all that stuff. My concern is bike lash from people, especially dealing with noise. How are you gonna regulate the noise? And have you had a chance to meet with, and this is gonna be a tough one because the bike pedestrian safety groups in the area, because there's a big bike safety group called PBS in our area. You might want to meet them, and there'll be hard opposition, but if you can work something out, I think in the long run, this would be more successful. I'm totally for this. I think this is a great plan. I just,
David, before I think what they told you here is that the idea is to remove people from sidewalk.
No, I got that. I understand that. But what I'm saying is several things. One is, are they gonna be able to regulate the noise? Like people bringing boom boxes and things like that.
or another, I guess a question could be, is there anything in the infrastructure plan for the building of, is there anything that you could do with the infrastructure that you're planning on building to limit noise?
And I would suggest you meet with this PBS group to harness them, get them on your side, or at least neutralize them.
Well, the idea of bringing this infrastructure, it's because it provides the opportunity to educate workers and to create some ground rules about how we can make public space adequate, but at the same time, how they creating ground rules about making sure that there's no noise. So this is part of the work that we will be doing, is doing some of the education, some of the outreach in the neighborhood, now that there is a space where workers can congregate. And so we want to include some programming while this, there is bikes and there is this space. And the idea is that also we can partner with other city agencies who have information about shifting some of the unsafe practices in the neighborhood, while also addressing some of the concerns that already exist in the neighborhood.
Great. Baron?
Yes, very quickly. You guys are sort of willing to make compromise with the restaurant owners. These folks actually work for them, but they don't want them anywhere near them because it would sort of take away the visibility and street access and all of that cool stuff that they would like to retain. But on the other hand, you are proposing to do this in front of a park, which is a public park. And that is one problem that I have, just the selection of location. And then two other issues that I have: why do you need the bike corral right next to it? Why can the bike corral not be somewhere else? Meaning further away from where it is right now, so you don't block the entire. And this is assuming that the park location is agreed upon, and this committee approves it. Personally, I don't think it's a great location. Personally, I also think that the public domain and public realm should be respected and not compromised with. Just because it happens to be a park doesn't mean we can block it when we like it. And if it is inconvenient for others, then we have all the more reasons to block it. I think it's a little problematic for me. Third thing I would want to ask is, why do you need a canopy? I don't quite understand that too.
Rain. If it rains.
Yeah, but I mean, this is something that, it rains when I bike, it rains when I walk, and I'm not asking for a parklet with a canopy above, so I don't have to sort of go under the canopy of somebody else's building. So I mean, there has to be some distinction made. I appreciate all sort of help that we get from delivery folks, but why is the city being asked to pay for it in terms of space? So I'm not quite sure. I mean, I understand you want to provide space, but not by blocking the park completely, almost completely. So I have a sort of fundamental issue with it. I don't mind that sort of structures
Darren,
being
can you just try to distill though, if there's one question that you'd like to ask right now, if you have a question,
The question is why this location and not any other? Simple question, why this location?
Okay, why this location? The question is again, why this location?
And the second question is, why do you need canopy above even the bike corral? I don't understand that too.
So just to address some of the questions, the actual infrastructure that we're planning to build is not being paid by the city, and it's not with taxpayers' money. This is something that is coming from independent funding that we fundraise. Just like want to clarify that. The second, and the idea of the canopy is because when it rains and it snows, it provides shelter to deliveristas who are like probably waiting for deliveries or parking their bikes. And this is more about providing not only a space for and people who work in the community to park, but also a more humane and dignified space to people who, are human beings. And the other one is, I think we're very open to finding spaces that are usable, right? This space really came in because it's really close to the location. It's something we identify as a potential, something that, even I think some of the business has expressed that could be a potential site. Actually deliveristas already use the park too. So many deliveristas eat there, rest. So it's workers already using that area, which that's why we found it convenient to do it there. However,
I completely understand your logic. My argument with this is.
Darren, we can't, I don't want to go back and forth. Alan has a question, go ahead.
Well, getting back to the park, have you discussed this with Parks Department at all?
The question was, have you discussed this with the Parks Department?
We started the conversation about this space already. So Mama, did we share the design with them?
Not yet. They're waiting to see, basically how it will go with community board.
Yeah. But it has been, this idea has already been shared with this idea for in terms of what we're visioning, right? And we're working with also parks about the transformation of new stands and sharing public spaces that adds parking as well in other neighborhoods.
Great. I just have one final question, and then we're going to open it up to the public if there's no other questions here. Which is just simply, so when I
Jesse, I have a question. You have to let me ask that question, please.
Well, I didn't hear what he said. What did you say, Aaron? That he wants to speak more. Yeah, right. So
we're all going to speak.
So we're all speaking. But one final question is, my understanding of the money for the hubs, I would have been envisioning, indoor spaces, at least somewhere that people would have access to bathrooms and a rest stop and inside door shelter. Has that been considered, and is there enough funds for that instead of doing this?
Ligia, can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not an either or, it's a both. So our vision is contemplating three typologies. One is the newsstands, which does not have a bathroom, but it has an indoor space for delivery workers to rest and get out of the elements while their batteries are charging, as well as secure bike parking, as well as battery charging, as well as a space for advocacy where they can go and get help, or anyone from the community can go and ask questions about any issues related to delivery workers. The second typology is what is called the hub, which is a brick and mortar headquarters that will soon be open in Williamsburg, which is basically a community-based organization in the headquarters of Los Deliveristas Unidos, where they can, spend an entire day. And of course, there's bathrooms there. There's more battery charging in there, as well as any series of programs and amenities for them. The third and lightest, of the three is the idea of the rest stop. So the rest stop will have, as of now, the bike parking, a space where they can sit, charge their phone, get out of the elements, and also important, heaters, right, during the winter, because people, ordering from the apps don't stop ordering from the apps during the winter, right? And so the idea here is you will have, a network of this throughout the city. You'll have a handful of newsstands, and you'll have a few of the hubs. And so that's how, we're envisioning this.
Thank you. That's a very, very helpful answer. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're gonna open it up to the public now for comments and questions. If you are, we have at least a couple people here in person, but if you are a member of the public online who wishes to speak on this topic, please raise your hand and Janine will move you over. I'm gonna start with those online. Look, oops.
I just want to let the deliberations know that there's a bathroom task force, so you might want to get involved with them, speaking with them. It's a.
I'm sorry, guys, do you mind taking off the presentation so that we can better see?
Yep.
Speakers, great, thanks. All right. Janine, have you started moving people over?
Yeah, so Ryan and I believe Christine are over.
Great. Ryan?
Good night. Good night. My name is Ryan Marcano, and I'm a resident of West 43rd Street between 8th and 9th. And I'm also the vice president of the Midtown South Police Community Council. I respectfully request that the CB4 Transportation Committee deny this request to put a structure on the corner. There's no doubt that a solution is needed to house the delivery drivers, but this block is not it. The presenter says the highest delivery area is in the zip code of 119. Why are you placing it in 136? The organization presented it's excited, but never considered the residents. The residents are not excited to encourage anything else on this block that will compromise our safety. This has not always been the place that the drivers congregated. This just started. I understand that the presenters liaise with the businesses on 9th Avenue, but no one considered the residents. Businesses come and go. They don't want the drivers in front of their establishment because of the safety of their patrons and the optics that it presents with them hanging out. This is a block with a middle school and a public park, and we choose to raise our children here. Someone said earlier that there are no residences where they're wanting to put the structure, but I want to correct you because there's a huge residential building across the street from where the structure is proposed. This block is already plagued with crime, open drug use, open drug sales. Putting up a structure like this invites more of the things that we are fighting hard to combat. This structure will encourage users and sellers with a place to hang out and congregate. You guys don't live here, so you do not know what we endure day after day. The drivers already congregate here because they thought they had use of the current structure that's on 43rd and 9th placed there by the grind. The drivers congregate because they think they were able to go in there. The current structure in place was put up with great intentions, but it was a bad idea. It was built well, but it invited a bad element. The structure in place by the grind is now used for storage. Why? Because they had to lock it, because homeless people were using drugs, using crack, shooting up dope, sleeping, using the bathroom. The delivery driver suddenly appeared out of nowhere and is using the block as a urinal. In the summer, they're sleeping in the park. They overrun the park so much already with their presence that families such as myself who have small children cannot use the park as it is intended. The structure, again, I will emphasize, the structure will encourage more of the same behavior. The residents on this block, please consider we are already fighting for our safety. Please do not burden us with this structure. Please do not further compromise our safety. Please deny this request. The organization who presented said they will maintain it, but they will not be maintaining this 24 hours a day. They will not be out there when the creeps come out to smoke their crack or shoot up their dope. This is where they will do it. They will not be able to control the drivers who have no place to live and will be living on our block with the structure because it provides heat, charging stations, and bathroom. Please deny this request. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Christine.
Yeah, here's my biggest problem with that location, right in front of a public park where children play. I see these guys hanging out. I live on 43rd between 9th and 10th. That corner where you say, yes, all those guys congregate, they're out there, they're smoking dope. I don't want my kids to see these guys out there smoking all that kind of stuff, one. Two, there must be 30 or 40 of them. You're only going to have, what, 10 docking stations? That's not going to work. We don't want these guys hanging out in the park so the kids can't. The noise, the trash, these guys have no respect whatsoever for our neighborhood. And I don't see that changing. You also said one quick thing about no city money or anything would do this. You just said Schumer gave you federal money.
But not for this location.
Sorry, it's not gonna be back and forth. If you guys can collect all the public comments and then respond in at the end.
Okay, so trash, kids, too many people, not enough docking stations. It's not going to work.
Okay, thank you so much, Christine. Thank you for the testimony. I see 3 more hands raised. Janine, if you want to
Natalie's over also. Natalie.
Hi, hello. Can you hear me?
Natalie.
Hi, thank you. Hi, thank you. I'm with the West 43rd Street Block Association, and to be clear, no one from the Justice League reached out to us to discuss this or to present anything. Which I think is, I mean, with all of this planning that they've done, that seems to be the first community group you want to speak to. I can't really go after what Ryan and Christine said because they both eloquently and expressed all of the problems that this would bring. West 43rd Street has taken on, we've worked so hard the last few years to improve the street to reduce traffic, congestion, crime, especially between 8th and 10th. And to make McCaffrey Park a more inviting place for children. And this bike corral is a step in the wrong direction. I think it's really interesting what the Justice League said when somebody suggested they build it in front of 9th. And you could tell the restaurants don't want it, but they are serving those restaurants. Build it in front of the restaurants they serve. Once you've put this corral as formalized, you know, with all the beautiful bells and whistles in front of 9th Avenue, it'll eliminate all the complaints that residents can't get into their building, that they're loitering in front of those doors. If they're serving restaurants on 9th Ave, 9th Ave should have to serve and protect these guys. I think there's clearly a need, but West 43rd Street is overly burdened and we should not have to take this on. I oppose. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Thank you. Jessica?
Hello, everybody. So as a resident on 43rd and 10th, I also echo what my neighbors say. I'd like to just add 2 elements to the discussion. One is the matter of the thoroughfare that West 43rd Street is. And that means people who are walking to and from work or whatever else from that entrance to the 42nd Street station. And that also means those of us who walk around the block to patronize businesses and who have dogs and who have children and who want to walk around the block. This volume of delivery workers and this structure, though a very nice design, will impede all of that. I would also just say, as a counterbalance to the lovely design and many of the thoughtful elements presented, I did not hear a solution for the bathroom issue. And that is significant. We probably don't want to discuss the details, but I want to make sure that it's voiced that there's not a solution in this proposal for that, and that's a real issue. The last thing I would offer is I don't pretend to understand the business dynamics of delivery services, the myriad options that people can order from, nor these restaurants. However, I would suggest that building a structure like this is institutionalizing a problem. And the problem is the volume of workers, not that individuals are trying to make a living or anything along those lines. I'm sure there are hardworking, good people, not for me to say, but creating a structure like this, the city government becoming involved in sanctioning that type of activity is institutionalizing the volume of these drivers, their bikes, their entry into walking areas, traffic areas, etc. And I would strongly recommend that that's not done, or at a minimum, there's a very close examination of the business reasons for it, and therefore the restaurants should pay for it and pay for its maintenance. So I also oppose, with all due respect to the presenters. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Jessica. Martha?
Hi, good evening. My name's Martha. I'm actually a property manager at 606 and 604 9th Avenue. That's between 43rd and 44th Street. I'm definitely opposed to having that type of structure in front of our building. I know that it's proposed around the block. We've dealt, just as a community, with a lot of crime over the past couple of years, and we feel strongly that this will only exacerbate crime. We've had a lot of issues, receiving sanitation violations for a lot of the mess that comes with this issue. We, our residents are consistently complaining about this, as are the restaurants as well. They do not want this. I do want to emphasize that, they are making deliveries, but the restaurant is opposed to it as well, from my understanding. And just as a property manager, we find that, it would be very disruptive to the building and to the building's tenants and to our community.
Okay. Thank you very much, Martha.
Thank you.
I think there's one more, Janine?
Maria and Leslie.
Oh, two more. Are they being moved over, Janine?
Yeah, Maria is on, and then also Leslie is on.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Hi, Maria.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm a business owner on 43rd Street, and I would like to, give my opinion about this whole setup that's proposed. Honestly, I think this is a terrible idea. It's a very disruptive setup in front of the businesses. I'm also sure in front of the park as well. It's not a good spot. It's going to be a shelter for the homeless people, the drug abuse people. It's not a good thing. It's a safety issue. It's a problem. I totally do not agree.
Okay. Thank you, Maria. One more, I thought. Sorry for not on there. Sorry, what was that, Janine?
Leslie?
Leslie. I don't see her over yet. Ah. Leslie, are you with us?
No.
Okay, we're gonna move to the two,
Mute. Oh, hold on. It now unmuted.
Okay.
Hi.
Leslie.
With respect to all of the planning, I did not hear about this whole proposal until last night. I am a 33-year resident of West 43rd between 8th and 9th. I vehemently oppose this plan for a lot of very good reasons. I sent a email to Jesse Bodine late this afternoon, which outlines not only what everyone has already said they don't like about this plan, but also because there simply is not enough room. Even when there were only like 5 or 6 delivery people congregated on 9th Avenue. It was annoying, and they would park their bikes right in the sidewalk. In the last week or two, suddenly there are like 20 of these delivery people, and they have begun to move over towards the shed that the grind has. May I add that residents here opposed the shed that the grind has, and at least 9 months ago asked that it be removed. And also it's only for storage. We don't have enough space. We have a very, very vibrant drug culture, which has not gotten better. We have a lot of people on our sidewalk, and the delivery people unfortunately do obstruct pedestrians. The other thing is that if I order delivery, it's usually from El Ranchero Burrito, the Westway Diner, or Turcos. I have never seen a delivery man who matches the descriptions of the delivery people who hang out on 9th Avenue. I have only seen actual full-time paid employees of the restaurants I order from. So, I mean, I don't know what restaurants you talk to. And the other thing is that no one reached out to me before last night. I think we need another meeting, and we need to hear from all the residents and also from the restaurants.
Thank you.
But my
Thank you,
vote
Leslie.
is no. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Okay, and now for the two members of the public with us in person, whoever would like to go first. Joe, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm here on behalf of Health Future Neighbor Coalition, made up of block associations, those 43rd, 44th, 47, 48, 49, 51, 55th, and 56th streets, and the two business improvement districts, Garment Center Alliance, that's in the Arts Association bid. We are speaking not in favor of this look. We are in favor of this idea. This makes a lot of sense. This location does not work for the following simple reason. We work heavily with the Midtown South precinct, and this particular block, which is 8th and 9th, is 8th and 9th, 43rd and 44th, center of crack trade and crack arrests. The idea of putting a street seat, especially with the canopy, is going to create just a major problem for hanging out. McCaffrey Park has been struggling with the crack use and the heroin use in that park. We've done some major events. We worked with the Department of Home Services to get events to help people in the Royal Hotel and stuff, to do events for kids. But it's an ongoing struggle with the drug use. So I think the group that's proposing it has a great idea, but they have not looked at the context. They've not talked to anybody about it, and they certainly haven't dealt with the broader public safety issue. That is not just the Laristas getting them organized. I think it's a really good idea getting this stuff organized. It makes sense. But this location in front of the park is actually the worst location to do it. But this block is worse.
Can you just, because you would know, is the park open at night? Does it remain, or does it get shuttered at some
No,
point?
it gets shut at night.
It does.
There's no question. But we have a group that has established itself on the 8th Avenue and 43rd Street. And Upland Housing is one building on the block. We frequently are dealing with the cops back and forth, where numbers of different owners on that block, there's two small HFC co-ops, they're having to call the police to get dealers off their stoops. So it's changed dramatically in the past couple of years. So that part, I just want to say that's one of the issues, like putting something where someone could mix in with another group and you can't quite enforce, creates a problem.
Do you know a better location?
Well, I was trying to think, like, I think it's got to be a location that has more toward 8th Avenue, that has less residential use, that is not in this, by the way, the crack problem is 8th Avenue from 35th to 45th, just so you know, has the highest number of drug felony arrests in any precinct in the city of New York. It's a stat that I still can't quite absorb. So maybe somewhere in 1019, that's a little more commercial, might be the place to do this.
Thank you, Joe. I'm sorry, go there again.
Deirdre, but
Thank you,
I
Joe.
wasn't here for this, but.
I'm sorry.
I just have thoughts on it. Of course, it's a great idea, and, you know, the taxi stands absolutely have them. The one on 20, I think it's 28th Street between 10th and 9th. They're right next to a park, but this is definitely, it's the commercial building right next door and it doesn't block anything. As far as restrooms are needed, I know that the gas station on 10th Avenue and 36th, there's always taxi cabs and, they use the 2 outdoor stands there, but something needs to be done, but this location obviously isn't the location to do it, so.
Thank you very much. Speaking extemporaneously, I just want to give the presenter just an opportunity to, I know that was a lot for you. So if you could just in a few minutes, if there were certain things that you wanted to respond to, we're going to give you that opportunity, of course, and then we are going to talk amongst ourselves in the committee. But please feel free to, I know there were several different points raised, and if you want to comment on any of them, you should have that opportunity.
Yeah, so I'll just start by saying, the reason we're here is because I don't think our intent is to do something without your support. The reason we're here is because we want to hear from you. We're open to recommendations about other locations that can potentially work. We're not exclusively married to this location. It's actually that location has been recommended by businesses, some of the businesses we talked to. So, there is an interest of finding solutions, right? We strongly believe that, there is an issue, right? Like the Liberistas are there. They didn't choose that neighborhood just because that's the hottest spot to hang out. It's because clearly there is a demand, right? There's people ordering in that neighborhood, and this is why they're in that neighborhood, because it is a hot spot for delivery. So our intent here is to find solutions where we're bringing a model about how we can bring infrastructure that address some of the public safety concerns. And we're open to feedback, recommendations on how we can do something about making sure that, these workers have a space where to park while they're waiting for deliveries, right? So we're looking forward to working with you all. We understand and we hear your concerns, and we're hoping that we can come up with solutions, because that's our intent.
Thank you so much for the presentation and for listening to everyone and being willing to listen to us as well and hear what solutions maybe we can come up with. Maybe we can get creative here. So what we're talking amongst ourselves. So I'll just begin and then obviously open it up for discussion. I do think that obviously this is a significant need just for the humanity of having all of these delivery drivers who have nowhere else to go and are out in the elements and need a place to use the restroom, need a place to charge the phones, need a place to stay warm. Unfortunately, these structures only, first of all, handled two of those issues. The restroom issue is not handled, but also, I just can't think of anywhere. I cannot think of a single block in our district where we would not receive some sort of pushback on this, because what we are essentially doing is sanctioning a group of people to hang out outside and create noise wherever that would be. And, I think about all the work that we do in the BLP committee about, well, are you going to have security guards out front to make sure that no one's standing outside and loitering? And it would seem to be sort of backwards for us to say, oh, but we're separately, we're happy to create a spot where, you can hang outside and be there, till 4 o'clock in the morning. That said, because this is still a need, and because, obviously this is a naturally occurring spot where people do congregate because of deliveries, I understood, I heard it wasn't an either or thing, but, I think my proposal would be to really try and push to either get additional funding or work with these groups to find them a commercial building and to reside in as a hub, rather than do this sort of halfway go-between measure of creating a spot on the street. And so encouraging people to actually move inside where they can be kept warm, they do have bathrooms, et cetera, et cetera. But obviously, that's just my first thought, and if people do have ideas of like a perfect location, we should do that too. But anyway, Tina.
First, after hearing what I have, I could not support this location. Secondly, I'm just sort of thinking, we once had a meeting at the Restaurant Association or a month or two ago. A part of me says that there has to be a coalition of interested parties who are willing to do something, hopefully. All I can say, I don't have an alternative. I do like the idea. I think it's a great idea. I would love to say, come here. I don't have that answer, but a part of me says, can't we throw it back on the people who are causing the problems? And isn't there some sort of association that all these restaurant owners belong to? That we could say,
chip in, help and put it, that's a good idea. Yeah, but
yeah, I mean, I think I'm really struggling with the it does seem like it should be in front of the restaurants, and I know we can't. Like the restaurants ultimately is not up to them, that is a parking spot. I don't know who makes the final decision, but it's not the restaurants who get to decide ultimately what is done with the parking spot in front of their public street. Yeah, I agree with Jesse. I think we hear these complaints from any block. That's kind of not a big concern to me. But it does seem like on principle, if you're the deliveries should be in front of the restaurants. They're gonna be using the restaurants or bathrooms anyways, which is in my mind totally reasonable. They are essentially employees of the restaurant. They definitely should have the right at least to enter to use the bathroom for a few minutes, use the bathroom. I think they do under New York law. They have to allow delivery books to use the restroom. So yeah, I don't know how we would even begin to go about that, but I would love to know what the options are for exploring because I think it's ultimately the city that has to sign off on using the street for this purpose. But saying I'm sorry, but your restaurants are causing all this traffic, we're gonna put this thing here. The actual construction will be paid for by the baristas group, but the location, I just feel like the restaurant shouldn't be able to be we're gonna put it in front of a park, which I'm not convinced that's really that bad of a location, but not having does seem more logical.
Pete, did you have your hand up? Sorry. Did you?
Yeah, just indoors. These restaurants have the wherewithal. If they can build structures on streets, they can probably come together in some manner, way, shape, or form, and actually set aside some property for them. That is, if they come together and say, listen, we'll contribute to this, and we'll find a place for them. And I think they can find a lease or an owner, a building that could say that has some area developed to rent.
I'll never forget one Sunday morning coming home and seeing somebody getting a delivery from Starbucks at 10:30 on a Sunday morning when the Starbucks was literally a block and a half away. So, yeah, we want, and I agree, it's a shared responsibility, but if you live in a community and the community generates all this traffic, I don't want to completely dismiss the idea that the community is absolved from having to be part of the solution. So sometimes it is taking on a seated area. It's just the question is, where does it go? Because otherwise it happens without planning. It almost sounds like there needs to be some kind of a task force to address this, and maybe because it's a bigger issue, maybe it's something we need to reach out to the borough president's office to come up with policy. How do we make sure that restaurants can, there's enforcement to make sure they allowing delivery workers to use the restrooms and things like that. So I think it's a bigger issue. But it seems like unlike with the taxi, we've historically been supportive of taxi comfort stations and helping shape policy and give our 2 cents of support, that the taxi industry is very, very regulated. So I think it's an easier thing for us to be on board with supporting taxi drivers who have needs, because there's ways to also ensure that taxi drivers are following the rules that they're supposed to. The delivery business industry is so, it's the Wild West right now. there's a lack of enforcement on so many fronts. There are apps somebody can download without being registered with anybody, they might not even be able to work legally, but this is their means of support. There's a lot written on this very issue, why people have pressure to deliver. So I think, you know, the biggest entities that I think, if we're looking at where's the money to really put in this, it's the delivery businesses that are profiting off of the workers who are doing the deliveries themselves. The restaurants who have their own delivery staff, they're not the ones that they're contributing to people being on the sidewalk. I think it's the apps and all these businesses that are organizing the deliveries and making sure that the money's flowing. They're the ones who I think are generating delivery workers who do not have a home base. So I think that's ultimately who needs to be part of the solution.
So I'm gonna do David, then Pier, and Christine.
Okay, we all agree that it's a humane thing to do, and the people who are gonna be there anyway. But that being said, the issue of the bathroom you mentioned, when they build public plazas, they have to build a certain amount of bathroom spaces. So we need to study what areas in our public spaces, and they private developers that sometimes they have to build these parks, and sometimes they have to include bathrooms in those parks. So we need to study that. I like what Brett said about a task force. So I think that this is two-pronged. One is, this is a great idea. It's possibly not the right location. We're hearing blowback from the community. And maybe a better location would be where there's already bathrooms in public spaces already. I don't know what spaces are there, but there is a public bathroom task force, as I mentioned earlier. And there are certain rules and regulations when you build a private property, you have to give back. And then there will be a space. Maybe we could look into that with this group here, so it'd be a better place. But the other thing is, just to get back to what the community is saying, is I'm gonna go full circle, is that these people are there anyway. Why not be a little more humane and give them a better spot? But that being said, we should still carry this to the next level. And I don't know how everyone else feels, but
Pier.
Yeah, just to reiterate, I think most of the things that I wanted to say have been kind of discussed. A couple of quick things I'm going to suggest is that I think we should, I don't know how we do it, Christine can advise, but maybe we need to write to city, and it's a policy decision, city planning, or somebody at the city level must take action in terms of, you know, making provisions for delivery folks, because it is required. And I absolutely am in support of actually making provision for that, but not without a plan, number one. And I think like any other business, if Whole Foods is looking for bike corrals that they want to actually place in front of their facility, we are okay with that. But if they're going to go block and a half away and ask for that request, then we will have questions. And I think that's exactly what I think we have to put the onus back on businesses and restaurants, and make them understand that this is something that they need more than just, you know, in any part of the community. The second thing I would say, avenues are much better suited because of the width in terms of being able to absorb this kind of extra infrastructure, which is absolutely required. I'm not against the idea of doing this kind of design proposals, but the location becomes extremely important. Who is actually in that? When I say who pays for it, I don't mean for making the structure, but who it confronts. Is it a commercial facility? Is it a restaurant? But not necessarily a park. This park is a programmatic community component as much as a sidewalk is, and I think we should be a bit more respectful of that too.
Thank you very much, Pier. I think it's Christine next.
Well, I just want to say that there's the larger problem of deliveries needing a place to stay and the humanitarian concerns with that. And it's gonna be hard to find a location. I tend to agree that the avenues in general are gonna be better than the streets for this. And I also think that this conversation for me is just very specifically about 9th Avenue between 43rd and 44th. And it's a real problem. And I brought it up earlier. I don't know what's going on with the police barricades. It seems like the police are trying to keep the deliveries out of the parking lane, which is again, putting them on the sidewalk, which is where no one wants them, and also in the bike lane. I don't have a satisfying answer of why this is a hotspot, or the rep when the barista says it is a hotspot, therefore that's why. But there must be a reason why it's a hotspot. I'm looking at Google Maps, there's 4 restaurants here, but there's also 4 restaurants on most blocks between 36th and 59th, so I don't
But it's
quite.
4 restaurants that are very delivery heavy.
So perhaps it's the diner and Tim Ho Wan or whatever, I mean,
Chipotle.
yeah, the Chipotle, perhaps, there's a reason for it. But I think if we build this over by McCaffrey Playground, and I understand the issues with drug use and the struggles that district is going through, and perhaps that could add to it. I personally, whether it's a parked car or a bike corral, I don't really care in front of the playground, but I understand the concerns the residents have. But I think if we build that over there, they're still gonna be on 9th. Because I think the way these apps work, and I'm not completely educated on this, but I think it's like Uber where you get the closest driver. And if you're ordering from Turo Mediterranean Grill, you want to be right in front of it, so you catch the delivery. So I don't think these guys are gonna go hang out around the corner, other than using the bathroom in the playground or taking their break. So I think they're all there for that reason, and I think we need bike corrals in the parking lane here. And I also wanted to bring up that hopefully, based on last month's meeting, we're gonna have a super sidewalk here a year from now, let's hope. And that would change the design as well.
Just you said.
Do you want?
Oh, sorry.
Kristen, do you want to go first, and then you want?
No, I'll do it, I mean, you know, I
can respond to Charlie's issue about because I've seen this in a couple of locations, the southwest corner of 31st and 8th Avenue. Every now and then there would be a hangout. So a lot of it is deliveries, but there's a support industry supporting the people doing deliveries with food and others, so that.
Well, it becomes a place.
So yeah, so it's not, so ultimately it isn't the delivery people who are camping out there, they come. But it's people who are supporting that and who are, helping them, or sometimes not even helping them.
I've seen that by Suprema, but I haven't seen that infrastructure here, I just see the drivers.
So,
It happens.
so I just wanted to give you perspective, and I think everybody's saying that in our resolution on bikes, we said we need to have bike corrals and hubs. So we said we need that, so that's the basis, right? And then the question is where, essentially. So first of all, bike corrals do not need CB approvals. The city can put them anywhere without our approval. So if we break down this discussion into bike corrals and a hub, I mean, not a hub, but a street seat, right? So there is the issue of the bike corrals. I don't know whether having the bike corrals in front of the park is bad. This bike corral, but as you said, if the bike corral's in front of a park and they're still staying on the avenue, that's no good, right? So putting the bike corrals on 9th Avenue is probably not a big deal. Right? Whether the guys like it or not, right? Because the city can do it, because they are there, because it's going to help move them from the sidewalk and from the bike lane. So this whole thing is now kind of business as usual, if you can separate those two things in your mind. So we could say, okay, we want to put the bike corrals on 9th Avenue, right? On the whole length, where there is the barricade now. And then we're left with the discussion of the shelter. I mean, the little street seats. And, essentially the idea is to make it better for the restaurants, because, people are not sitting down in front of their door, and people are not standing in front of the doors of the residents, right? So presumably it sucks up the people who want to sit and put them there. And so clearly, I don't know whether we could say, let's put this one where Grind is, where the shelter is, which is completely next to the corner, right? which is like where at 43rd Street, Grind has a huge shed. If they were going to remove the shed, we could put the shelter at the corner, or we could put it on 9th Avenue. Or we could say, let's just do the Corral. I mean, to me, these are kind of what I heard of how do you attack the options based on the feedback. That's all I want to say, is like, you know, this is because we have a problem. The problem is that the people are on the sidewalk, they are in the restaurants, and now they are in the bike lane and on the sidewalk. So it's not, we're not trying to do some, you know, high, we're trying to resolve the physical problem of where do we put things so they are in a reasonable place, not being perfect and not being, you know, everything to and humane. We want to be humane, but right now it just doesn't work. So what do? So we have, I think we have those three options.
Yeah, I just want to put out there, I agree, and I think I even said this earlier, that like, it should all, really would, in general, should be like the restaurants, or maybe the app delivery companies who pay for some of this. I do think it's not, like, as much as it would be great to have like buildings around the city where like act like physical buildings in the normal location for buildings, not on the street or the sidewalk. I just like, when I think about the number of deliveristas and the amount of just building space that would be required and the cost of that building space, it seems like infeasible. Like,
well, we know
even if we were
they've done it in Williamsburg already. So
right, but they've done it in one building, like in terms of like just the overall number of delivery drivers in
Because you have to put it in those.
Hell's Kitchen and
places,
Midtown in these like
spots.
prime commercial corridors.
What spots?
But what,
Like,
Williamsburg sounds a little bit like a headquarters, what they need is places close
To where they're
Right.
delivering. Yes.
yeah, so you need like storefronts on like these like prime commercial corridors, and you need quite a lot of them. And they need to be decently large to hire, to fit, you know, like 20 deliveries per space. I just think the cost is not gonna, like, even if we got money from somehow from app delivery companies, from restaurants, it would just be infeasibly expensive. And the reason I'm saying that is that like the street seats are not, I think they do have some legitimate concerns. But like, I don't think we're gonna like, I just do not think the math pencils out. Like in no future world is it gonna be financially viable that like meaningful numbers of
I
commercial
understand that,
storefronts.
but my only point was that if we're talking specifically about Westford.
Yes.
Sorry,
So in terms of coordinating this, this sounds like it's a project for, yeah, what the name of it, the director of the realm?
Public realm.
Or some.
No. Famous realm, sorry.
We have a new agency now, we're
Yeah,
supposed to
director of public realms.
coordinate projects for the city, dealing with other agencies and finding.
Well, but this one is all DOT. You don't need a coordination for that, that's all
Yeah, you
DOT.
need to find a place, and maybe you need to find buildings that are available for something
Well,
like that, you know, someone has to coordinate. The block associations aren't gonna do it, I mean, are we gonna go out and look?
But let's try to
You need an
focus on
agency to do so.
43rd.
Yeah.
and 9. Let's try to focus on 43rd and 9 and all, you know, not, I know it's interesting to talk about the whole plan, but this has been going on for 3 years and nobody's doing anything. And we have a problem in our neighborhood.
Yeah, if we can come up with something here that's not just kicking the can to someone
Right,
else.
exactly.
Yeah, for this particular location, because overall, we do need a bigger problem, we need to figure out how to.
I would like to propose to put like what Christine was saying, and maybe follow it up down the road with a task force. So the immediate thing is go with what Christine has
You mean just
suggested.
a bike corral and not a seat, and not a street seat?
Whatever Christine would say.
No, but I was saying this is two options, right?
But you were saying the two options are either, I mean, I thought you were saying that.
Yes.
We could just start with a bike corral and like that.
Right, and I would like to put a tail on it where, then we could then set up a public task force for later on. So we get it done, and then later on, we talk to the borough president at the same time. So we work, I should say simultaneously, so putting a little tail on it.
Yeah.
Jesse, I'm going back to what you said, actually. BLP.
Yes.
They did not meet with the block association. They didn't meet with the tenants. Why can't we have, they didn't meet with anyone? Why aren't they meeting and then coming back to us with a solution? In other words,
Do you think they're gonna get different feedback? Like, do you think
well,
they're gonna
Joe
gain new
knows a lot.
information about?
That's the feedback, right?
No.
The block association and everybody.
But they didn't talk together.
Well,
I was gonna offer to bring it to the block associations and say, can you come up with a location?
Right.
Somewhere in our district that could be accepted, because if you get consensus first, then it can come back here and you guys can actually
Right.
deal with it.
But I-
Maybe there's a part of a block that could say, we'd like to put this here because it is commercial building or something like that to make it work, just to put it
I
out.
think it's a good idea. I am concerned that, again, we know where they are, right?
Yeah, in this case. if there
The
is no
problem
other
is that we know.
No,
where
no,
they
no,
are.
it's not with this, I want to demystify something. These deliveries are not serving just these three restaurants.
Right.
They're serving multiple restaurants. And the
Yes.
proponent said that they are concentrated in 10019, 10036. So maybe we should just ask the block associations, who know their blocks exceptionally well, where in any of these blocks could this kind of proposal go that would not create a firestorm of opposition? And if we can get that return next month, like I would actually invite these folks to come to a meetings, like say, talk to the groups, because that might help, right?
And I
like the idea.
I'm not convinced that just because they're there, like, I do take your point that they have to be close to that location, but I also do agree that they're serving a lot. This is just sort of happened over time, and I do think if we chose a location, I do think that eventually they would move to that location if it's within a certain area. I do think if we build it, they will come, like, I think that this just happened, and then over time, and
What is the radius of like how far you can be? Like, I truly don't know. I would, maybe the delivery school, not mean at this meeting, but someone could speak to that. But like, it may not be in front of the building. I'm not sure how that works, but like, there is a distance. I doubt it's further than a block or two from the place where they expect to get business. So I think it would be good to know what is that radius, and I do suspect it's not more than a block or two.
I just think there's a reason for this block, and it may be that it's central, and if you look at the epicenter of restaurants from 34th to 57th, and this is somewhere
Or
right.
Chelsea.
Right,
Yeah, right, that could be
there's
that
something
too.
about concentric circles or something, there's some reason, and
Yeah.
because if you look north of 50th Street, we have a super sidewalk with tons of space.
Yeah.
Do we have deliveries hanging out there? Yes, but not
Not
like
like this.
this is a
Yeah.
unique spot, so I would make a motion saying that we are supportive of amenities for deliveristas, and we appreciate the presentation. We think that they should talk with community and find a location, but in the short term, to deal with this problem on 9th and 43rd, that we encourage DOT to install corrals, which we've been asking for. And if you look at Google Maps, Patron had a restaurant shed for 4 years that was there, I think
Yeah, I mean,
recently it's gone. Like, we can lose 2 parking spaces there, we had a shed there.
No,
for 4
no,
years.
but typically also we could use that as a street seat, because there was a structure for 3 years, right? So that's.
Viren's had his hand raised for a while, and Brett, and then if we could start trying to, Ryman, thank you. So that was the first proposal I heard that we have other, or actually, sorry, David, you also, sort of more substantive proposals for what this motion is gonna look like. Go ahead, Viren.
Yeah, no, I couldn't hear everything very clearly, but if anyone proposed that the group should go back and speak with the block association and probably go towards the avenue side and even have a conversation with the restaurants and perhaps come back and present 1 or 2 other sort of alternative locations, I think that would be the way to probably go, because I don't know if the board, if the committee wants to actually go and find a location for them, ideal thing for them would be for them to go and speak with the community that's around there and, find a solution along the avenue much more than street side, ideally. But otherwise, Christine's proposal is pretty good, which is break up the 2 parts and do the bike corral along the street side, no problem. And the sort of the shelter portion can go at a different location. I think that, these are the 2 options that I would sort of entertain. I'm sorry if I'm repeating something that somebody has already proposed. That's because I couldn't hear it properly.
We appreciate it. Thank you. That's.
And for my motion, and sorry, Brett, but for my motion, I would just say the DOT standard bike sleds. I'm not proposing that we use this design on bike pattern for the short term solution.
So just
And the proposal 9, I'm just clarifying question, is the proposal being discussed now, which was once called Christine's proposal, although I'm not sure it is specifically Christine's.
It's a proposal, right?
Is it to do the Corral on 9th Avenue in front of the
Yes,
restaurant? It's
yes.
not,
It's not,
Get rid of anything about the
yeah,
park.
nothing with 43rd Street. It's not-
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify, because one of the obvious reasons why a park might be a desirable location for someone to go rest is because it's a park.
Right.
So you have benches there, and it could be
But they
fun.
go there anyway.
Yeah,
There
well,
are plenty of them in the park today.
if you, like, we have.
And they are not criminals, right?
We get homeless people in
So-
parks all the time where children play, and it's a challenging issue that I'd say most parks didn't deal with, and it's, what are you gonna do? Yeah, okay, I just wanna make sure we're talking about putting the bike corrals in front of the park without.
No, in front
Then for sure.
wait,
we
wait,
would-
let's clarify, in front of that, so let's say.
Okay.
It's put the bike corrals. The problem we have is that we have asked for the bike corrals in this location
On 9th Avenue.
on 9th Avenue, and it may not get there for 2 years. This approach, because it is self-funded, the only thing they need is from, right, they need an approval. So maybe we ask for their bike corrals to be installed.
Or if also the sidewalk.
We are not going nowhere with the bike corrals.
That's a good point. So the bike corral issue though really does only solve the
Yes.
being on sidewalks and bike
Yes.
lanes. It really does not solve the larger issue.
No, but what.
And so,
Right.
no, I don't have, like,
Well, we could do that in the second step.
Yeah, but then.
We will consider
Yeah.
that once there
Yeah.
is more communication
I agree.
with
And
the blocks, right?
Personally, I would like to see some sort of presentation where there are like 3 locations proposed or something like that. I think there needs to be alternative proposed like locations, or at least we need to understand the process by which, a certain location was, certain locations were, considered and then, denied and divided lots of locations.
Well, the part that I wanted to finish with though is I think it's not just send it back to Black Association. I think it would be constructive if we send them back with the message of please come up with some solutions before we do. Cause I want the Black associations to figure out what's a least worst place to put it as far as they're concerned. Because I think there seems to be a growing consensus that we agree that this should happen somewhere, it's necessary. This might be smaller than what's needed. So that's why we need to look for the solutions, but we want something to happen, so let you guys figure it out instead of us who represent Chelsea, not just Clinton.
And follow up on, I'm sorry, follow up on what you said, if it is on the avenue, we can ask for more instead of the 12 or whatever, to put the 20, right, 25 in
Yeah.
front of the restaurant, so we have the capacity to absorb what needs to be absorbed. And then, if we have a location, then they could go and build that thing at that location or in front of 9th Avenue. If this is at the end of the day, everybody says, this is the building, the businesses, then, that's, doesn't belong to them.
I'm confident that it can be worked out, because Joe's gonna be there, Joe knows exactly what happens when a neighborhood says no, period. So Joe will make sure that it happens in a way that is,
Right.
But I also think if I don't think we are gonna come up with a solution here on ourselves tonight, but it also, it is for us to also think about and consider other locations and, I don't think we should personally give up on retail locations if we can find some to support and sort of rally people to fund that location, getting them an actual lease near the West 43rd Street, if
But
that's
the lease
possible.
would be more
Like a hub rather than.
and the apps, right?
Yeah.
To do that.
Yeah, and the apps,
That's
exactly.
like
It is,
And I
yeah.
think our elected official just had a
Exactly.
meeting and they told them, you need to do that.
Yeah.
I
So, like,
doubt that anything is going to happen.
But,
right?
I just wanna
One thing go to like a restaurant, like, I think
Yeah.
it's the same thing, we're gonna sort of lay down the gauntlet a little bit with the block associations, like, same thing we say with the local restaurants, like, somewhere it's gonna go in front of, one of these is gonna go in front of a restaurant, somewhere in the district.
Right.
What's the least bad
So I
option?
think we have a.
It's gonna be a politician.
You want to?
Actually, I just thought something, I think it's 38th Street, but they have a collection of restaurants that do small little cooking spots. Like it's like 7 or 8 different chains that are in one location, and that's also another spot where.
Oh my God, it's horrible. It's my street. Well, it is, no, I have ordered a bike rack for that. They are like
Okay, that's what I was
everywhere.
gonna say, that's
They
another.
are
conflict
everywhere
area.
and nobody can park. It's terrible. Plus they're.
All these ghost kitchens
Stinks,
you're
you
talking
have to
about?
help me with that.
It's a ghost.
All
The
right, so-
exhaust is like.
Christine, do you want to try and
Sure.
summarize? Oh, wait,
So-
sorry, one, because yeah.
Sorry, just have a question. So if we propose their corrals, will they maintain that area? Or is that a mute point?
That's a good
Because
point.
I-
If we vote if we vote to approve that you putting in some corrals into, on 9th Avenue, would you also commit to us to trying your best to have your staff on hand to maintain them and educate? And, you know, because that actually does at least start going towards the broader problem. So at least we were getting, you know, we're making small steps, but you're meeting us there. Is that doable for you?
Yeah, yeah.
Great, okay.
So.
Just, I wanted to mention, and because I think it's important when.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to work with you all in terms of finding alternatives. I mean, you can talk to different people, right? But I think it's important to acknowledge that somebody asked like why this is considered a hotspot for deliveristas and why there's so many deliveristas congregating. And one of the main reasons that is because there is a high number of delivery orders coming from that neighborhood. So if you see more deliveristas congregating there is because there is more people ordering on Grubhub,
Right.
DoorDash, and all these. So there's like a whole need that the community is benefiting. So
Do you know what would be helpful, Lydia, is to do a little survey of those delivery people and ask them why they come here. Because I have my guess that they're all French speaking and these are all buddies. And so once you have 3 or 4, you know, it's like a social. It's a social hub, right? And so they're all there, they are all coming there to see their buddies, etc. So, you know, that's the way it is. So we would say that we would like to install their bike racks in larger quantity, in like 20 or 25 or 30, whatever the number, in front on 9th Avenue, on that parking lane, right? And then they would maintain it. And then we would like them to meet with the block association and discuss and explore with the block association where the street seat should be located. And then come back and do that as a phase 2. And that's it. And we can repeat that.
Task force staff to go over that.
Yeah, we can repeat that. We think the apps should be definitely.
Yeah, they have me like.
Funding, but these are things we have already said in the past, you know, we can repeat that.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I was
make
thinking
that-
specifically about the question of like location, which I actually
Right.
think like Grubhub is not the right people to pick a location.
Right.
In the,
No,
because
yes,
it makes sense.
no.
It's,
Right.
maybe they should have some financial responsibility, that's a separate question,
And-
but the question of like,
Yeah,
some of these were gonna go eventually in like, I guess in
a
front of,
parking lot.
in streets.
Yeah.
But as we've sort of, some people have said, the avenues are more logical and it does make sense ultimately to put like street seat like structures in front of the restaurants in at least some, like that seems to be pretty, if we're gonna ask people to accept them in front of
Okay,
their
but
apartment building, then.
we're not there yet.
Okay.
This is next time discussion, right? This is next time discussion. When there are suggestions, we can talk about that.
All right, so I
And
make
then
that motion.
we'll include a request.
For a survey, and
For a survey of the local, you know, and saying what facilities they would like to have.
yeah,
And why are they all gathering there?
Yeah, yeah.
And would they be open to gather in a different place, right? So maybe we can tell.
All right, I make that motion that you just said, Christine.
okay, we got a motion. We had a second. All those in favor of the motion as summarized by Christine,
Okay.
all those opposed? None eligible, abstain. Great, thank you very much. Thank you for, we're excited to work with you on this. I think we will be seeing a lot more of each other, and I think that's a great thing. So thank you for bringing this to us. It's a, you know, great idea. You've obviously put a lot of work into it, and so we'll figure this out together, but, you know, hopefully we're making small steps to coming to a solution. So thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you to all the public members who came and spoke and who shared their thoughts, very important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah.
Great.
Night.
Have a good night.
So we should never ever say it's a short agenda.
Yeah, no, I know, I just jinxed it, yeah. We are moving to, oh, you want to skip through?
No, oh, what's?
We can skip it, we can, you are.
Oh.
That's you. You want to push it to next time?
Yes.
All right, we're gonna skip 3.
I am saturated with this.
Yeah, we're gonna move on to, new business. Just this afternoon in the Dropbox, a draft letter was added from, Miriam, who we have heard. Fisher, thank you, sorry, who we've heard a lot from about her advocacy for elevators on West 23rd. If you remember, at the West 23rd Street subway stations, if you remember, last time Miriam brought this issue to us, we agreed as a committee that we were gonna look into it and bring in speakers and bring in advocacy groups to write our own letter to advocate for priority in getting elevators in these 2 locations, and we are still planning on doing that. But Miriam also very much wants to send her own letter, which she should and absolutely has a right to. She's a disability advocate and has spent time drafting something, and all she asked for is us to, as a committee, to endorse her letter. So her letter is posted. I don't think there's anything that is controversial in there. I think, you know, we could just, if you had a chance to read it, I don't, you know, it speaks to all the reasons why this location makes sense. And, you know, goes through a bit of the history of what's happened with this location. And, you know, just talked about our neighborhood and who lives here and who would get used from the elevators. So, it would just be, and I don't know how conventional this is for us to sort of throw an endorsement onto someone else's letter, but that's what's being asked of us. And just so that she can say in her letter, that this has been endorsed by the Transportation Committee of CB4, or actually
No, it will go to the.
It'll go to the full board, so it'll be endorsed by CB4. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the letter?
Give us a motion.
Okay, can we give a motion?
Motion to endorse the letter.
We have a second?
Yep.
Second, good. All those in favor of endorsing Miriam's letter? Anyone opposed? That is not eligible, abstain. Great, awesome. Was there one more, that's approved?
There is.
Was there one more new business? There was. What was that?
HYHK was going to bring their shared streets. Are they there? In the attendees?
Do we have HYK?
Yeah, I have Patty coming over.
No?
Patty's coming over.
Oh,
I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, here is Patty.
Miriam, yeah, great. Go ahead, Patty.
My name is Patty Maltezos. I am the Planning and Development Director at the Hudson Yards Hell's Kitchen Alliance, a local bid. And we are participating in a DOT program called Open Streets, and we're requesting a letter of support from the Transportation Committee. I'm coming as new business because we requested this letter last year, and DOT requires it, you know, every year for every application. So I wanted to quickly sort of reintroduce what we're doing, but hoping that you guys will support our project. Janine can share the document. We can see the locations.
Yeah, they just ask.
They have to renew it every year. Okay, right. Yeah. So if you want to go through the presentation, then
Or
briefly as
whatever.
possible. Yeah, just that, because we have seen this before, so just feel free to go through it as.
I think Miriam has her hand up. That's
Yeah,
what
she does, but, we already voted on her letter, so well, Miriam got what she wanted, so we'll circle back.
Walk out when you go.
Take the win. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so I will be brief, since you guys have seen this before, but the bid is looking at 2 streets or 2 blocks next to Bella Abzug Park for our Open Streets program. We're looking at Hudson Boulevard East between 33rd and 34th Street, and then Hudson Boulevard East between 34th and 35th Street. And I've given a list of different programs that we're probably going to try out. We haven't set our program list yet, so we're not confirmed, but we do different kids programs like Kids Movement, Street Lab, which is a kids STEM program. We've done yoga and other wellness. We may do lunchtime activations. We might do dance workshops, maybe music. There's other programming available in DOT's like program guide, like a bookmobile, something like that. And we're hoping to do this as a limited local access. So cars are still able to move through, but we're really going to prioritize pedestrians. And we would have our park staff maintain and operate these open streets. So putting barriers out, cleaning up trash, like opening and closing the programs, everything like that. So any questions about the program or the open street?
The traffic cop, where are they gonna park their cars? Remember one year they parked them?
This might be the one location where there's like very.
There was.
There was.
There was a million of them.
No, but I'm saying there was opposition to the sharing, so this was like, no.
No, I'm talking about the.
Oh, the traffic, no, yeah, no, I'm saying this is the one place where there's not like opposition to a shared.
Okay, so we need a.
Is there, does anyone have any questions or concerns? Okay, so,
I make the motion.
Motion for what? To approve?
To approve, yeah.
Great, yeah, okay. All those in favor of approving this shared street? I didn't hear it, for the record, we gotta create a clean record here, gotta be online, okay.
Thank you.
Anyone opposed, from not eligible, abstain? Great, thank you so much, thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Miriam, we have voted on your letter, but if you have 30 seconds of something you'd like to share with us, you have patiently waited and I don't want to be rude. So go ahead, Miriam.
Yes, I do. I wanted to thank you, but it's another request for accessibility, using zoning for accessibility as a possibility of getting another elevator on not 23rd and 8th, but really 25th and 8th. There are two housing projects. One is finished on 24th and 8th, and there's another one that is now with renderings, and it might be an opportunity to use the zoning for accessibility, which gives developers perks in as they're constructing a new building. If there is a subway in the vicinity and they pay for the elevator, so the MTA likes this plan very much, and I work with the MTA and testify.
There's a right. So construction.
So, yeah, but there.
Board meeting.
You froze up, but so thank you for bringing that to our attention. I do think, it would be something that we can talk about then putting on the agenda for a later meeting. Because that is now a separate new issue for us. So we should talk about that going forward. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. I will say it costs about $80 million an elevator is on average to install. So it's not a small amount of money. So getting some private support is not actually the worst idea. So something that we can definitely talk about, having developers actually contribute to, is not the worst idea. So thank you very much, Miriam.
Let me just add that this is not yet a built building, so this is the time to act on it while the developer gets an extended lobby or another story. And that's why I thought
we'll talk about it next time, because we can't put it on the agenda tonight. Thank you very much, Miriam.
okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
One more.
One more.
An update on the portal. You don't want to?
No, it's just an update,
It's just an update. So, as you know, we have had a working group on the Port Authority, working with all the details of the new building and the new circulation and the new entrances and all of that, and the construction. Joe is on that, and on that meeting, we had a meeting this morning. So Joe had, not Joe. A meeting this morning, we had a meeting this morning, and it appears that the DEIS, which is the draft environmental statement, may be certified by the 2nd, right? That was the 2nd February. And in which case we would do a presentation, they would do with CB4 presentation to everyone the following week. So everybody can catch up and be on the same level, because the following month, or at the end of that month, we're going to have to make comments on the transportation section of the DEIS. So next month is going to be a heavy month of all of us reading a lot of pages and raising a lot of issues and writing a very long document that will be included in CB4 response overall to the DEIS. So I just wanted to let you know.
Are there any drafts available that we can start getting?
No.
So there's not even like a preliminary or?
No, the notice will be released January 31st.
Just January 31st.
And we're gonna have how many days to read it in November?
Right.
45.
Or in that, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Well, it's 45 days to comment, 45 days to comment, not 45 days to read it and come up with intelligent questions.
No, we are, yeah, because there were going to be hearings in the middle of the month, and then we're going to have the community board for meeting, transportation committee, and then board.
That's come out of the March meeting, right?
March board meeting,
March board.
which is at the beginning.
So next month is.
Next month is the month, right? That's
So
good.
that's gonna give us less than a month for our committee to read it, because
Yes,
that's the point I'm making, it's not 45 days for us.
Any other question? So just FYI, get ready, very interesting, a lot of good stuff there. A lot of overwhelming stuff and a lot of good stuff.
Thank you. Love it. All right. Do we have?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we're gonna do it. Second that.
Is she have one?
Bridges are not.
Yes. Is she have something?
What?
Oh,
No, they refused to put it on. I'm sorry, you came for that?
That's right.
Wait, well, you came for what?
No,
The Port Authority Bridges,
No, they didn't want-
Communicated that to a bunch of people.
We're wondering why.
I'm
sorry.
People online, just waiting to hear it.
I'm sorry.
So sorry.
It's not on the agenda because we put it on the agenda and then I had a call with the HYHK
Yes.
and they were there and they said, no, absolutely not. We don't want it to be on the agenda. It's way too early. So they said, we are going to have a look at it. Look at it
I'm
as,
trying to consider the other item too, but I feel, sorry.
I'm so sorry.
You added value to the other part, though.
So-
I don't know if you can hear me because people don't mind it.
Yeah, so sorry, if anyone's here online for.
No, I was gonna put my name in to join a community board, so I wanted to actually start attending a few meetings. just to say.
oh, Anthony Board, okay.
Yeah, so if anyone's online for, what was that, what's
The
name?
parapet.
The parapets, yeah.
Port Authority.
Yeah, Port Authority parapet. That- we did take that off the agenda for this evening, but it will be appearing, keep your eyes peeled, it'll be on the agenda coming to screens near you.
For the March meeting.
Hopefully.
I don't know, I'm just wondering.
I don't know, I mean, they told me they wanted to have internal reviews and be way closer to an answer before we show it to people. That's what they said.
Who's there?
Port Authority.
Oh, the port.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, I will reject that in writing.
I will now be entertaining that motion to adjourn. All those in favor of adjourning.
Right. It just happened like that.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much. Everyone online, thank you for attending. Janine, thank you so much.
I tend to.
You're in.